Hi everyone, Mr. Benjamin here, and today we'll be talking about rust prevention. So, rust is actually very damaging to all the iron containing products in the world, and preventing rust is a very important research that chemists are doing. So, a lot of money is actually spent to replace corroded structures, and therefore we need to prevent it by either barrier methods, that means like a physical barrier, or using a more reactive metal, sometimes we know it as sacrificial protection. Again, we need to use a more reactive metal, right, to protect the metal chemically. So let's talk about the barrier methods first. So the barrier method basically just provides a physical barrier that prevents contact. So we need to say a physical barrier, and we need to say that it prevents contact from what? It prevents contact from oxygen and water in the air. So that's why sometimes we see people painting their gates or painting the railings, right? So the paint actually prevents the iron from coming into contact with oxygen and water in the air. So therefore it prevents the iron from being rusted. So some of the methods we use are actually painting, right? Oiling and coating with plastic, right? The good thing about oiling is that if we can actually use it to prevent moving parts, like for example in machines or in tools, right? While paint and plastic cannot do that. So there are another method which are chemical method, which is sacrificial protection. It's called sacrificial protection, but I would prefer you all to just call it like a chemical method. So in the chemical method, what you do is that you actually connect the iron with a more reactive metal. For example, like zinc, right? And magnesium. So because zinc and magnesium are more reactive than iron, it will actually react with the oxygen and the water instead of the iron. So imagine that like I'm more reactive, I'll react before you. So these methods are like galvanizing. Galvanizing means coating with zinc, right? And the zinc act as a barrier, right? To keep the iron from oxygen and moisture by reacting with it, right? Or we can attach like this, you can see here, blocks of zinc or blocks of magnesium to the iron pipe, and the magnesium will actually react instead of the iron. So two methods, galvanizing, attaching a more reactive metal. So no matter what, we are just attaching a more reactive metal, right? And how do we say it? Okay, I think it's very important to learn how do we explain this. So by attaching a more reactive metal, so let's write it over here, okay? So by attaching a more reactive metal, the more reactive metal corrodes in place. So this is the word that you need to say, corrodes in place, right? Or you can use the word corrode preferentially. Now, remember that the word rusting is exclusively reserved for iron, right? So for everything else, we need to use the word corrode. So corrode in place of iron or steel, or corrode preferentially, right? So let's take a summary of all the different methods that we can use to prevent rust, right? So we can do things like physical methods, which is painting, oiling, greasing, coating with plastic, coating with tin, right? Tin is a less reactive metal than iron, so therefore it's only physical. However, if I coat it with zinc, which is a more reactive metal, not only does it act as a physical barrier, right? It is also corroding in place of iron. So it is a chemical method as well, right? We can also attach blocks of zinc and magnesium. This can be used in like your ships, underground pipes, right? And again, the zinc and magnesium being more reactive will corrode in place of iron, right? Now, we just to remind all of us that rusting is a very special case of corrosion, and it only occurs in iron and steel, right? You shouldn't use the word rust with any other metals. Okay, so I hope that has helped you understand how we save a lot of money in this world by preventing rusting of iron. All right, all the best. Bye.